try again. Let's see if I'm gonna manage to film this video. Reality of being a mom. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all good. We are good. I already tried to film this one, so I'm trying to go fast so we get to the point. No, but Milo yesterday turned 2 months, which is amazing, insane how fast the time goes. And finally we are starting also to fall a little bit into routines. So right now I'm trying to have him sleeping in his middle of the day sleep that usually lasts 1.5 hours, and I thought I was going to take the opportunity to film this video. And I really want to talk about my birth story. This is just like my personal story, my personal opinion, so I hope that no one is taking what I say personally or thinking that I am judging other moms or whatsoever. I just want to say my story because I want to hope that, as always, it can help even only one person to feel better about giving birth, or to feel motivating about giving birth, or maybe someone that is meeting the same problems that we had, or part of them that can, I don't know, can help this person to feel less alone in it. Also, it's a little bit like tricky to film this video, I feel, because we will talk about before giving birth, and after giving birth, and I feel that the most intense and difficult part, it has been after birth. I hope I'm not gonna trigger anything into anyone, so if you feel that you are getting overwhelmed, you can stop to watch the video whenever it comes, of course. I don't even need to say that. Let's get into it. I was actually over 1 week late into giving birth to Milo, so I've been induced. So I've been called in from my hospital, which is the hospital in Södermalm in Stockholm, on the 7th of December in the morning, saying that it was time to give birth, basically. And that was so exciting. I really liked the fact that I could slowly get into the birth, and not that all of a sudden I broke my water or the contraction started. Like it felt a little bit something that for a control freak it was really, really nice. And I'm not saying that it's the best way to give birth, for sure, but I feel that it was really nice for me. So we actually spent the whole day in the hospital, and me and Vincent got our own room, really, really nice. And every second hour I got to take a pill, and now I don't remember how it's called, and I will not remember. I'm not gonna promise that I write it down below or all this kind of stuff. I don't remember how it's called. And this pill basically was gonna induce my contractions. And it was really interesting how I could follow on the screen how intense my contractions they were getting with the time going by. And for the first 4 to 6 hours I didn't really feel so much. Then I started to feel slowly like a sort of period pain. Then the period pain got much more intense, but it was so gradual and really, really nice. It felt that I could really like follow with my mind and with my body the whole process. And then it was about midnight when I took my 6th pill, and we were about to go to sleep, me and Vincent. Maybe we fell asleep for 10 minutes, and then I feel like a bloop, and I'm like, what is happening? Did I break my water? Is it the I don't know how it's called, the tap in Swedish, this thing that is blocking stuff? I don't know how it's called in English, but anyway, I thought either is that or is the water that broke. What shall I do now? So I thought I'm gonna go to the toilet, and the toilet, it was in this corridor, so a really, really long corridor. And as I start to walk towards the toilet, I start to feel this hot water coming down my leg. So I run back into the room. I'm like, oh my god, Vincent, my water broke. I'm gonna call the doctor, the nurse. I don't know even how they're called in English, but anyway, she came into the room and she checked, and yeah, I was getting much more open. I think at that point I was about 3 centimeters open. So she was like, we will wait a little bit and let me know if it gets more intense. In the meanwhile, I'm gonna let you know the delivery room what is happening. And in my head it was like 10 minutes. In reality it was over 2 hours. I felt that I couldn't hold myself anymore, so I called back the nurse, and I'm like, no, this is really painful. And I was already starting to talk with that voice like this when you really are getting into contractions. So she's like, you know what, I bring you upstairs, can you walk? And I was like, yeah, of course I can walk, I thought. Oh no, Milo's crying again. Wait a minute, will you? Today it looks like he does not want to know to sleep anywhere that is not in mommy's arm. Let's see if he's fine with me sitting down and talking. I have my doubts, but we try. So what was I saying? Yeah, it felt like if it was really like 10 minutes before they brought me to the actual delivery room, but it was actually 3 hours later. It's insane. And as I said, they asked me if I was able to walk, and I said yes. So I went with the nurse to the delivery room, and then Vincent joined us, so he could collect all our things and join us to the delivery room. And in the moment that we get out of the lift, I get this huge contraction, and then I was like, shit, I started to hold myself on a pole that was there on the corridor. Luckily the room was just like next door, so I could come in there really, really quickly. And I was like, give me immediately this oxygen, lustgas is called in Swedish. I think it's, I don't know, oxygen tank or something. So I started with that, and I tried different things. I tried the yoga ball with Vincent giving me a massage on the shoulder, which was definitely a really bad idea because I felt that I didn't want to be touched. As you know, when you are in pain, I don't know who likes to be touched when he's in pain. I really felt more like, just don't touch me and leave me, let me do this thing on my own. And the yoga ball helped a little bit, but actually I preferred much more just to be on the bed at the end and try different positions depending on how I felt, even because I tried this sort of like trolley that you are hanging into, but I felt that my legs really didn't have much strength. All my strength was more like in the arms, weirdly enough, because usually I have more strength on the legs. But I suppose that how you get contractions down there is like the whole area, it's really in pain, so you don't manage to stand on your feet, or at least that's what I felt in that moment. But after a little bit also started to feel that the gas, it was not enough. So I requested to sorry, I'm trying to hide Milo what I'm filming. So I requested to get an epidural, but they told me like it can take a lot of time because we need first of all to check your blood and see if everything is okay with that, get the result from the blood test, and then get this narkosläkare, which is specific narcotic doctor that it comes and does the epidural. And I was like, but that's fine, because then, you know, it gives me like a stretch of time to still exercising a little bit with this oxygen. And in that moment I feel like I heard the voice of an angel, because I couldn't really remember much of faces and names as I was so concentrated into just like delivery and into like handling the pain. So I just hear this voice over my head that is like, you are not breathing in the right way. So this person told me, this nurse that I think it was also the head nurse, what do I say, nurse, midwife? So she explained me how to breathe correctly in the mask, and then I felt like, oh, this is so much better, I actually can continue with this for a bit longer. I hope all the things that I'm saying make sense, because I almost didn't sleep so much during the night. I slept like 6 hours. So I don't know why I'm deciding to film this video today, actually. I don't know if it's a good idea. But anyway, so I feel like I can continue with the gas, and it feels easier to handle the whole thing. I get checked again, and then I was open 6 centimeters, and there I felt I'm almost there, without knowing that the last 4 centimeters they can take as long as possible, and in fact it took me many hours. But then it came the next problem, which was that I felt like I had this urge to push, um, and the baby was still not down enough, and I was not open enough either to push. So they were like, nope, you need to hold. I'm like, what? How do you hold when you feel this instinct that you cannot control of pushing? So they told me that I had to breathe in instead, so kind of doing because in that way you're like lifting up everything and you are not pushing. So I did this for many hours, and this was extremely exhausting. I feel up to that moment I could handle, I could like change position, I could do a lot of different things, but when I had to hold, not to push, and breathing in that way for hours, at the end I felt, now I'm like really exhausted. Oh yeah, and I forgot to say that when I was at 6 centimeter and I was breathing so well with the gas, then I said the oxygen, and then I cancelled the epidural because I felt that I just wanted to continue because I felt I was able to handle it. But in that moment that I felt so tired, then I was like, give me back the epidural. And they were like, nope, now you are 10 centimeter and it's too late to get the epidural. So I was like, yeah, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna continue with this? Because I felt that I had no energy left in my body. And then I remember that someone told me right before I gave birth that exactly when you feel you cannot do it, then is when you do it at the end. And that's exactly how I felt. In that moment I felt like they will have to do like a C-section or something because I am so tired, I have no energy left. Then I also had change of team in the delivering team because it was the morning shift. So I don't know what time now, we're talking about 6 in the morning, maybe something like this. And at that point then I asked the new midwife boss if I could do something, which is basically when I felt Milo moving down, then I will try to push, and when I felt that it's a contraction, like not leading too much, because I could actually feel it when it was moving down and when it was just like pushing without nothing happening. So when I feel that it's a contraction that doesn't lead too much, then I start to hold in. And she agreed with that, and she said that she was gonna keep the heartbeat under control, and if something was gonna go wrong, she was gonna let me know. After a while they had to put these drops that they were stimulating my contractions, and then things start to happen. So then we were like in the active labor time, and the team was amazing. I mean, I had like 5 people around me, everyone supporting me, everyone saying that I was doing so great. They made me feel like the strongest woman in the whole world, and I'm sure that every woman giving birth feels the same. I mean, it's insane what we are doing, and I think there is not one mother that is giving birth that is not super strong. We are all so strong, like there is no way that you cannot be strong, you know, it's impossible. It's amazing, seriously. And also when they changed the shift, they had midwife of the first shift. Apparently she didn't manage to come inside and say bye because she was so emotional, and she was so sorry that she couldn't manage to make Milo come out while she was on her shift. So it was so nice to hear this, you know, like they're doing these things every single day on loop and still they get emotional from one birth. So that's fantastic. But yeah, even the second team, fantastic, amazing, really like supporting. I had one person just holding my hand or like touching my knee. Even this one didn't bother me for some reason. She had like such a like soft, lovely touch. And so really nice. And then yeah, it came the moment to actually push, and they told me though that now I don't know in which order this happened, but Miro was getting in distressed, so his heartbeat was going down. I actually don't remember this part, but Vincent remembers it really well. So that was a problem, and they said that it could be that when he's born, he might have some, like he needs to recover from this, so they will have to take him and check his heart. And also, he had to come out in 3 pushes. Like he had to come out, you know, when it comes to that moment, like now you need to get this baby out, push as strong as you can. So I did, and the first one was not enough. Then I think with the second or with the third push, they took this, how do you say it? This, oh, sugklock in Swedish, ventosa in Italian. I don't know in English. I mean, I know, but now I don't remember because my brain at the moment is not working correctly. But this thing that is like a hoover, the hoovering mouth, basically. And apparently went so fast and so smooth that they did not think. Maybe it was like a mix of me pushing really hard and this one working at the same time. That he came out really, really fast. And then he basically flew. I mean, it went so fast, like I really felt this whole corpse coming out from my body and landing on my belly in like 1 second. But I have this like slow motion picture in my head of seeing him like falling in my chest, and it kind of like, I thought in that moment, he's dead. It looked like dead. And in the moment that it landed, it really landed like this heavy, slimy, hot thing, and it was not moving. And I don't know, I really thought like, it's, you know, the combination of the heartbeat, and I don't know, it was just a feeling. I was like, shit, he's dead. And Vincent afterwards told me that he thought exactly the same thing. So we basically hold our breath for what it could have been like 5 seconds or maybe even less. But then he started to cry, and he was super good, so they didn't even need him to take to the doctor to check his heart. Everything was perfect. His neck was up immediately. He reached for the breast in 1 second. So everything got super intense after these 5 super slow moments. Then it got so intense, everything. And I was like, oh, okay, oh, he's fine, okay. And then they take him away and they put him on Vincent, and it does skin to skin with him while I'm delivering the placenta and while they are examining me. And then I see the face on the midwife of, yeah, I understood immediately that I had some severe tears. And she told me like, it's gonna come a doctor to examine you. And I was like, yeah, but just tell me pretty much. And she was like, yeah, it's quite much. And then the doctor came, and it turned out that I had between the tier level 3, 4, when 4 is the highest tier that you can get. I'm not gonna explain what it is. If you're curious, you can go and Google it and find the information yourself, because I don't want this to get too overwhelming. But afterwards I got to understand that this happened because the Hoover thing, it went so fast, and that's why it ripped me literally. So it was really good for Milo, because he didn't get this sign from this machine in his head for too long, so he recovered like immediately. It felt that already after a few days you could not feel it, but of course it was a little bit bad for me. But then the problem has been that, and now I'm gonna start the part of the story where I am talking about bad service in this hospital. Up to this moment, I was so impressed with everything and the support I've been given. And you know, I wouldn't have changed one small bit of everything that happened. After this, they had to sew me in the chirurgical room, which was taken. So first I had to wait 2 hours, then I had to wait 2 more hours. Then they brought us down to this room that is like a hospital room, and it's the room that usually you get to spend the first night and like cozy up with your baby and get to breastfeed, and then the day after pretty much you go home after you have done some controls. But they took us down and I had to be laying in bed. So I was not stitched, I had this catheter, I couldn't move at all. And in that moment, everything is so blurred for me. I feel, I don't remember much of that moment. I just remember like Vincent running around changing Milo's diaper, and then having this baby crying constantly. So he was giving it to me to breastfeed, but he kept crying non-stop, and I felt that I couldn't do anything. I couldn't stand, and you know, you feel powerless in that moment, that you feel like I'm just laying here like a vegetable. And also the thing is that I had written a letter to the hospital before giving birth, where I wrote that I wanted to speak English, even though I can speak Swedish and I understand Swedish, but I felt that it was such an intense moment that for me it would have been much better to speak in English. No one has read that letter, and of course I could have said something, but you know, when you are in such an intense pain and everything is so happens so fast, I did not even think about saying, can we speak in English? And Vincent didn't say anything because he saw that I kept speaking in Swedish, so he felt probably everything is under control, while it wasn't in my head. Everything was so mixed and so confused, I couldn't understand everything they were saying. Plus, on top, I had this crying baby on my ear, so I felt that I really couldn't hear anything and I couldn't understand anything. And it just felt that we were in this tiny room and people kept coming inside, presenting themselves, shift changing, people changing, but no one really spending time with me or with us. They were just coming, checking that he was eating. Oh yeah, he's eating, okay, bye, do you need anything? And we're like, no, I mean, I don't even know what it is that I'm supposed to need in this moment. I need support, and no one was really supporting. And Vincent did not even manage to say anything because he was taking care of everything in that moment. So it was really intense, and they basically have, it's waking up now from the hands. They have operated me at the end at 11:30 in the evening, from 9 in the morning that I gave birth to Milo. And in that moment all I could think is like, yes, finally I can sleep, because I don't have the baby on me that is crying non-stop. So I slept during this operation that lasted a couple of hours. When I went back, I could finally stand, and I felt like I was gonna faint for how much pain I felt. It felt like if I had a ball hanging between my legs, basically. It was so painful, and you know, you have blood, you have pain, it's just like a mix of stuff, and it's so hard to understand your body in that moment when you also have a baby to take care of, which is a constantly crying baby. And then we will get to that point. The day after, he gets a doctor visit. Everything seems perfect. I get a visit myself from a doctor where he's explaining me my tears and what is going to happen. And then in all of this, imagine these 2 days, we kept receiving a lot of papers. So people were coming in and like giving us paper that we were supposed to read and go through, but we didn't manage because everything was just like so intense in that little room. There I start really to panic, I feel, because you know, it sounds like when you say, oh, you have a crying baby, you feel, oh, you have a crying baby. But when you are breastfeeding a crying baby that does not stop to cry, it's so intense, because you feel you are the only one that can do something to make this baby happy, and you're not making this baby happy. You feel guilty, you don't know what to do. So then I told Vince, you know what, I just want to go home. And he was like, but are you sure? The camera is overheating now. So it was a bit weird, but the thing is that in that moment I really felt I need my peace and quiet. I need to be in my own spaces with my own things, and in the worst case all I hear is him crying, but not these other people coming in all the time and talking on top of it. So we went home, and it was extremely cozy, seriously, to come home again, having our own spaces. It felt like to be in this bubble of love. It was just the three of us, and it was like, now it's all in our hands. We're gonna make this work. I was getting back like a lot of hope that I had lost in that day before, but I was still extremely stressed, and I remember that I was dropping everything with my hand, like my hands were shaking all the time, so I was, yeah, like I couldn't really do anything, and I couldn't go to the toilet, I couldn't shower. I had to really like do it extremely fast, and while I was doing I could hear this baby crying in the background. If I had to eat fast with a crying baby at the same time. But after 2 days we got back to go back to a visit to the hospital, and this I think has been the worst day of them all. We basically make him ready, me ready, Vincent ready, get into the car. We arrived there was no parking, so Vincent goes to park and I'm like, I'm just gonna go with him, and we had him in this car seat, and I thought like I will just go to the appointment room with him in the car seat, and I see you there. The thing is, how quick as I start to walk with him, I realized in how much pain I was down there, because until then I had been sitting and breastfeeding the whole time, so I couldn't really understand how I was feeling. So in that moment I was like, shit, I cannot even walk, and there I started to really panic. So I went on the wrong side, and the nurse saw me and helped me to go to the right side. So anyway, I arrived to this appointment that it was like 5 minutes early. Vincent's still not there. It comes out the doctor, and he was the most rude person ever. So she comes out of this office and is like, Alessia, come on, we don't have time, hurry up. I'm like, how we don't have time? It's like 5 minutes early. So in that moment, when you are already stressed, you are in pain and everything, my brain froze, and I was like, shit, how am I gonna do this now? So I went into our office and I'm like, can we speak in English? Nope, I don't speak English. You need to speak Swedish. I'm like, okay, but my boyfriend is coming and he is Swedish, is coming any moment. And she was really stressed. Maybe they were short of staff, I don't know. But luckily, the only thing that she did good is that she realized that Milo had a problem with the short string of tongue. So it's basically this string that we have under our tongue. He had it really short and he had it really in the front, and I actually never noticed, but he will not even be able to take out the tongue at all. So like he's never done this since when he was born. So imagine him breastfeeding without managing to help himself with the tongue. And that explained also why I had really strong wounds in my nipples. I had already gone through 2 rounds of wounds. So imagine I had one wound, it fell, it recovered, and it was coming another round of wound. So I was in pain in my whole body pretty much. Milo was not being able to eat, and that's why I was crying all the time. He was losing... Oi, it hurted now. He was losing weight, which is kind of normal at the beginning. So all the babies, apparently after they are born, they drop their weight, so it takes 2 weeks to come back. That's why I did not stress too much. But then you feel like, how much is the weight that he's losing because he's supposed to lose it anyway, and how much is the weight that he's losing because he's not eating properly. So of course this problem had to be fixed, and as soon as possible. But it's not all the time that they allow you to cut this tongue, so you need to get a visit with a specialist. You need to check out this tongue, and then it can give you like a remise, which is an authorization to go and proceed with this surgery. What is called BB, which is this hotel that you are supposed to stay after giving birth, for me was the worst. I did not get any support. The doctor that visited Milo there did not notice that he had the short string, because if he would have already noticed that, he would have had it cut sooner and would have fixed the problem sooner. And it can sound like a really little problem, because sometimes you don't, like babies have it really in the back and short, and that does not affect the feeding. But for us, it did not allow him to get enough food, and this is like extremely serious. So that is a really bad service that we got from the doctor. And also no one has come to check how much he was actually eating when he was feeding. Now I need to pay him a second. Amore. And I know that this is a serious issue in Italy as well. So I don't know if there is any country in the world where you feel that you get the right support with the breastfeeding, and you are from that country, or anything, just comment down below, because I'm really curious to know, because I think that this is something that it does not get talked enough. Yeah, you can get some information before giving birth, but it's so individual and personal that you should really be followed up individually. Yeah, they were closed for Christmas and New Year, the hospital that they are supposed to do this operation. So that meant that we had to wait over 1 month to get his problem fixed, which meant that little by little it had to be introduced to formula milk, so powdered milk, and I could not continue with breastfeeding. It's okay, it has its plus and cons. I just feel that it's a bit sad that this has not been a choice, but I've been a little bit like forced to do this. And it could have been maybe avoided if everything would have been found out earlier. But the most important thing is that now he's super healthy and he's happy and is growing how it should. So at the end you see that everything is always a good story, no matter what, no matter how hard it is. I mean, always. In my case it was. So it's hard to know how are all the other situations for other people. But anyway, this was my story. There is so much more that I would want to add to it, but as you see, my baby is requiring me attention. The camera is overheating. I have 24% battery at the same time, so I cannot continue too long. But I just want to say, because during this whole time I also started to feel that I could consider becoming an Italian doula in Stockholm, because I really felt that it would have helped so much to have close to me someone that is my mother tongue, and someone that is experienced and that it's following me unconditionally. So I feel that this is something that if I could change, or if I could do for the next time that I'm gonna have a baby and I'm gonna have the finances to do it, really to have a personal individual support. I know that in countries like Hong Kong and Japan they have this service, and I am actually surprised that particularly a country like Sweden that is so advanced still does not come to this. For example, in Hong Kong I know that you can hire a person that it's like staying with you 1, 2, 3 months, you can decide, and it's also cooking for the mom, in particular if breastfeeding, because when you breastfeed you are supposed to have like specific diet in order to continue to produce milk, and also to give you back the strength from delivering. And I mean, this everyone needs it, no matter if you're breastfeeding or not. But it is true that when you breastfeed, I mean, I remember when I was breastfeeding and he was like sucking out so hard, and like it was really exhausting, and at the same time I was feeling so little and fragile in my body. I was not feeling strong, and I remember in that moment I felt I want to go to the gym, I want to exercise in order to be strong, to support my baby, and yeah, to just be a strong mom. It's really the first time in my life that I felt I want to feel physically strong for a specific reason, and not just to be fit or something like this. But yeah, so there is a lot of more like psychological talks that I would like to do. This has been a little bit of a just bringing up the facts of what happened, and a little bit of an introduction to our situation, so that then maybe hopefully I will manage to do more videos when I can go a little bit deeper into feelings and psychology, or you know, not psychology like if I know much about it, but just explaining my story, and helpful, and hopefully it can be helpful to someone that can relate to something, because it's true that every brain and every story is individual, but there are like small things that they can be in common. And as a mom it helps so much when you meet someone or you hear from someone that tells you like, I felt the same. You really feel you are not alone in that, otherwise you feel so not understood from the partner, that of course he cannot really know how it feels to be in a mother's body, from other mothers that they haven't experienced the same thing. So it's a lot to take in, mamas, but we are all doing so good, and we are the experts of our own baby. I think this is the most important thing to keep in mind, so that you don't let any kind of comment affect, because at the beginning you are like so inexperienced and so insecure. Like I've never felt so insecure in my whole life, and it can be really like, I can really make you feel like it's hard. It is, but more the time goes by. For example, now Milo is just turned 2 months, and it's so nice when you really can feel like, oh, now he needs to eat, now he needs to sleep. Like you're really on top of your own baby a little bit more, not 100%. That I think you will never be, but it's a really nice feeling, and hopefully that gives you the strength to feel confident into your role. We are all fighting so hard, and we are all doing great. And now the phone is dying. Bye. See you in the next video. Bye bye.